Hello, everyone, and welcome to SmashBoxxTV Podcast 525. Sarah Miller, not quite alongside Johnny V. Johnny, I was just thinking, it feels nice. I got a lot of room around me here. I'm in my own domain of sorts.
Yeah, you are. Just for reference, you are currently in the studio over in Bend, kind of all by yourself.
Yeah,
There's no one there to
it's
put their arm around you or maybe hand on a thigh or anything inappropriate.
No,
Good thing we're not a workplace. None of that counts.
Yeah, we're not. That's one way to look at it. Yes, I am now back in Bend after being here for the weekend. And, of course, the GMC, Green Mountain Championship, just wrapped up this last weekend. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. But also coming up this weekend, the MVP Open at Maple Hill. And our special guest tonight is going to be Steve Dodge once we get a few technical things squared away with him.
He's all set whenever we are.
He is. Okay. Well, I don't think we should waste any time. We can recap GMC when we're done. But coming in from the East Coast, the beloved Maple Hill, we've got none other than Steve Dodge.
Yahoo!
Hey, Steve.
Steve.
You've already made a mistake on this show, just so you know. It's MVP Open by OTB.
Yep.
You said at Maple Hill. That's what it was like 3 years ago.
Is it at Maple Hill?
It is at Maple Hill. But
so
it
then
used
I'm
to be
not
wrong.
All right. We have made the joke for years that if you keep changing the name every freaking year, we're gonna never get it right.
That perfect. You're nailing it every time.
Good. Well, welcome in. I can only imagine the fun, the chaos, maybe the calm before the storm, maybe all of that and then some out there on your property right now. What is it like? It's Tuesday night, just before your event, the whatever.
So
what's going on
I will
out
admit to you, in my opinion, the event has already started.
Okay.
We had our pro-am this morning, and Anthony Barella and his am partner Billy Dunn shot a 48, a -12, and took down the pro-am on the men's side. And Missy Gannon and Andrew Raish shot a 6 down on the women's side and took down the pro-am on the women's side. So already a fantastic start to the tournament. The course, everybody's telling me it looks better than ever before, but I feel like they just say that every year. So, take it with a grain of salt. And talking about changing the name of things every year, I have some really exciting news that very few people are going to care about initially, but I think long-term will care about, but we can get to that later. Whenever you're ready to break some exciting news, let me know.
We call those Smashbox exclusives here.
I hope so.
I'm gonna guess that 8 people know about this in the entire planet, and now as soon as we say this, 13 will know.
Yeah, 13 or maybe 14.
Yeah.
Depends on if Doc Zen has showed up to our chat room tonight.
Well, yeah, it depends on how viral we go.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's start with. Of course, you got the Disc Golf Pro Tour started, which feels like now forever ago, as we're going to be entering the 10th season next year. You've been continuing to run this event. But at the end of the day, what got you all into all of that was the fact that you're a fan, you're a player of disc golf, but also a fan of disc golf. So let's start with rewind about 5 or 6 days ago, as the tour all shifts into New England, goes up to Vermont. What was your experience like this weekend in terms of consuming and being worried about the event just before yours versus the work you had to do and get ready for this weekend? Were you sitting on the couch is what I'm trying to ask. How much ice cream did you have?
I sat on the couch in the evening. And okay, so I'm getting older and I have to watch my ice cream intake. So I'm shifting to just the straight up pints to like a fixed size cone or maybe an ice cream sandwich or a Klondike. Because that way there's like an amount you eat and then you stop. and that seems very reasonable to me. So that's what I've been doing regarding ice cream. I'm getting older, and that's just how it goes.
That's your regulator, as in like, okay, one. Because
Yeah.
if you told me, yeah, the pint tells me when I'm done. The problem is if you say, well, but I've got another pint ready to go.
Right.
That's when
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
But we spent all day. We didn't spend all day Friday. We had a cosmic championship at the course, and we did our Maple Hill warm up setup kind of stuff. Saturday, the Pro Tour, we started setting out Pro Tour assets. Sunday, we kept setting out Pro Tour assets. We had probably about a dozen volunteers, I should say staff, come to the course and help set up. And then in the evenings, Jess and I would sit down on the couch and we'd watch and catch up. And we watched the women and the Heartbreak of Silva, and then watched the men and Gannon continuing to play lights out. I actually had an opportunity to talk with him today, and he said, I don't know if he said he made a mental shift or a mental shift just happened, where he doesn't really think about, oh, I got to be sure I don't go out of bounds. He just thinks about, this is where I'm going to put it. And it's a small mental shift, but I think it's a pretty important one.
It seems to be working for him. He's had arguably the second greatest month in PDGA history behind Paul Macbeth, I think, by literally like 0.1 ratings point or something is what someone had. I think it was a Statmando thing. So
I would argue that Silva Saarinen's June was arguably the best month in disc golf history, but who knows?
I'll follow that up and say there was some, and I know it's the internet, but there was some criticism of us being the network showing Silva and the Heartbreak in that moment, which at the end of the day, there's going to be one winner and one loser, or one winner and lots of losers in any given disc golf tournament. But clearly, it was heartbreaking. I don't know how anyone couldn't have felt that way. You're a storyteller.
In my opinion, Silva. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Did you have a question?
No. I was just going to say, you're a storyteller. What is compelling to you there? Especially knowing, because we all know Silva's going to win and beat Kristen at some point. But as a storyteller and as a lover of this sport, what's your reaction to seeing that from her?
It is absolutely imperative that DGN or whoever is covering that cover Silva kneeling or squatting down by the side of the OB rope. Head in hands, clearly having a personal moment in front of all of us, because she lost something that she felt she had, and we've all seen the sports, any sport. You have the team going crazy, and you have the team sitting on the bench with their heads down and towels on their heads, and whether they're crying or they're just internalizing, that's what sport is. And I think what actually happened in that moment, Silva is noticeably unemotional on the course, and then to be able to experience that moment with her, that was powerful. I think Silva gained a lot of new fans in that moment that said, wow, she's in this because she loves this sport, and this matters so much to her. For me, that was a very powerful moment. I don't think there's no way you, in my opinion, I think Mahmoud made the right choice and said, you have to show this. This is a person being a person, and that's what we all are.
Yeah, it brings me back to MVP just 2 years ago, and Corey Ellis getting the shot of him in the scoring shed, head in hands, just after the heartbreak on 18 that
Right.
he had it. It was a similar situation where he was going in with his victory, and which I think is honestly one of the greatest shots we've ever seen on the network. That I would say, well, even though Paige Bjerkes wasn't on the network when she won at GMC, but yeah, I think that Silva, Ella, her heartbreak at Waco as well. Some of those are some of the best moments that we've ever filmed on DGN, and those you have to show them. Now, you're right. I think they create personality, they create fans, they create want, because you know that the player feels it. It's not like she just shrugged her shoulders and walked away.
Yeah, I'm not just punching in and punching out. Like this, I do this because it matters so much to me. Actually, I met a guy. I never met him before. Zach Nash. I don't. You've probably heard of him or met him. But I met him at the course Monday, I believe, and watching him play, like, I'm now a Zach Nash fan. I'll just admit it, because watching him play, I've only seen him throw 3 or 4 shots, but there's so much joy in his body when he throws that disc. And someone pointed out to me, they're like, his face doesn't have any emotion on it. I was like, I didn't see his face at all. I just saw, like, he threw a shot and he was like, that didn't go where I wanted it to. I want to do that again. And he just did it again. Like he couldn't stop. And I just love that.
That's him. But then also, how much is it the course? And let's, kind of segue right into playing at Maple Hill this weekend. We hear a lot of people talk about going to GMC and how much they really love the variation of the 2 courses out there. It's one of their favorite facilities. We're going to hear a lot of people talk about Maple Hill also being their favorite course. I don't know how the math checks out that every course is their favorite, but anyway, statistically, UDisc has even also proven, though, that Maple Hill, one of the greatest courses in the world over this duration of the last 6, 8, 10 years. What does that add pressure to you? Does that make you feel different knowing we're seeing other courses change and rise and try to compete, and then now you're inviting everyone onto your property and the Maple Hill property?
Does that add pressure to us? And I switched me to us. I don't know the answer to that. Does Gannon winning add pressure to Ricky, or does it just make Ricky want to try that much harder? Is that I don't know if I'm splitting peanuts there, but in my opinion, I don't think we feel additional pressure. I think we feel motivated to do even better. We were having the player the Pro Tour and Maple MVP Open staff meeting today, just going over all of the little guidelines. And the question came up, are we a USDGC qualifier? And I said, I honestly don't know. And I love the USDGC. I love Jonathan Poole. I love everything they do for the sport. But in my opinion, they should be an MVP Open qualifier. We shouldn't be a qualifier. Like, I'm battling with Jonathan Poole to make the greatest disc golf event. And for us to say we're a qualifier for the USDGC, in my mind, sort of belittles us. A qualifier is a smaller event than the event that you qualify for. And so, to me, I was like, I'm going to take offense at that, and I'm going to do it publicly. I'm going to, wave my arms and do all this nonsense. And clearly, the USDGC is a completely different animal and a much bigger and better beast than the MVP Open. However, they are in the ball field with us, and we are battling to be the best event, and they are one of the ones we're battling with. So, do I want to be a qualifier for them? No, I don't want to be a qualifier for them. I want to beat them. And I want them to be a qualifier for us. So, and that's, so I don't think I'm feeling pressure. I think we feel driven. And so we do things like we build the Zuka deck, and we do things like we take the MVP Open money and we put it into creating brand new holes out on the course. And so there's yeah, we're constantly doing things to try to make our tournament bigger and better. And wait till you see the bleachers on hole 18. Wow. It was really, really fun. I can't believe they got him in there. But so I'll just say I think we're definitely motivated to try to be the very best tournament in the world and to show everybody what disc golf tournaments can be.
I love that. And it's interesting for me because this year I had the pleasure of going to the #1 course in Krokle, being over there in Norway. And then as you go to these courses and you know, the two courses at GMC are rated in the top 10. And I think I was at the number 2 or 3 best rated course in the world as well this year. You go to these courses and I always think about who's taking influence and or notes of other properties, right? Because when you're rated the best course in the world or one of the best, people are going to try and mimic or copy some of the things that you're doing. Topography is always going to come into mind of things you can't necessarily duplicate. But it's interesting because Maple Hill looks nothing like Krokle over in Norway. I mean, just in my opinion, looks nothing like it. So it's interesting to see as everyone's kind of, I don't want to say copying because they're not, but you're definitely taking bits and pieces and maybe a little inspiration. Do you find inspiration at other courses when you either visit or watch them on the network?
Absolutely. Actually, I went to play a course called Meadowbrook, about a half hour from Maple Hill. A guy named Dave owns it. He has a beautiful apple orchard. They've got a great restaurant, and 978 Disc Golf is there. And he invited me out, and we went and played. And it felt almost funny because there were a couple of times where I was like, "Oh, what you're doing here is awesome. I think I want to take that and put it on Maple Hill." And I almost feel like he took a little offense because he's like, "Wait, that's our thing." And I hope he didn't take it that way. It felt a little bit like it. And I hope he recognized that what I was saying was, this is what you're doing is awesome, and we can improve ourselves by doing that also. And I think we all do that, and I think we should all do that. And I'll go ahead and just say in 2003, before we started building Maple Hill, I went on a 3-month odyssey of the country and we played about 150 courses, but we focused on the courses that were at the time the highest rated. And so and the idea was to take all of the best elements and put them all together and try to do even better. So I think we should all continue to always drive inspiration or derive inspiration from others. And I would say,
well, and I think that's
I'll go and disclose. Sorry, Terry. I believe you can go to I could go to any course in the world and pull something from that course, which transplanted to Maple Hill will make Maple Hill better.
Yeah, and I was going to say there's course components, but then there's also event components. And I've said that being a tournament director, just as yourself. I've never been tournament director of the year like yourself. But you go to events, and that's where you see, oh, I love how they did this, or I love that they didn't bother doing this, or and then hearing your logic behind not offering CTPs or having some of these other things. You may exclude 3 or 4 very common side games, but then you have 10 other wild ones that no one else has ever thought of. And just kind of trying to, let's face it, ice cream socials are happening at Ledgestone completely because, Nate Heinold is borrowing that idea from you and other events that have had things of that nature. So there's a lot of give and take and a little bit of sharing.
And let's face it, that we're having an ice cream social because Vinnie Miller down in Texas was having an ice cream social. And I said, that's a great idea. So I wasn't the first one to come up with an ice cream, and Vinny wasn't either. We just take these ideas. Sometimes we improve on them, and sometimes we just say that's perfect. The way ice cream socials are perfect the way they are. So that's the end of that. I'm actually thinking that we should have an ice cream social, and then maybe play disc golf afterwards.
Yes, I like the way you've spun that, and we'll get some new sponsors. Yeah, and then we'll call the event something entirely different. All right, well, let's talk about your improvements.
Wait, Terry, I promised
Please.
on this show, I believe I promised on this show about a year ago, or maybe 6 months, I said, we are going to have a sponsor for our ice cream social. Do you want to pull up the tape?
Yes. Beep, 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 beep. Yep. There it is.
So
let me rewind my yeah.
So we have an ice cream social sponsor. I'm very excited.
And, well, you got to shout them out.
Walmart. They are going to be providing all of the ice cream, all of the bowls, all of the cups, all of the napkins, the toppings. Everything's coming from Walmart. I'm going to be emailing Missy in a day and a half, and she'll have it ready for me to just drive up there and pick up. And wow, thank you very much, Missy. It took about 10 minutes for her to reply and say, yes, we want to do that. So I am very excited. Saturday, we will be having the Walmart ice cream social.
Wow, and even like cracking into a major brand in the process too. Like the fact that you're Sam Walton and crew on board. All right, well, congratulations. So with that, let's parlay or add on to that some of the other changes and exciting things that people should be expecting this upcoming weekend that we're going to see.
So I'm just going to run through the schedule. I think that's the easiest way for me to do it. So Thursday night we have the meet and greet with the players, where you can we have over a dozen players will be vending, and so you can come and say hi. You can buy discs. They'll probably sign them for you, take autographs and all that stuff. And that's Thursday night from like 6 to 7:30, I think, and then we have Maple After Dark every night. Friday night, we have the pie eating contest with Jeremy Colling, where the top, I'm going to say 4, but don't hold me to that. The top 4 finalists, the top 4 fastest times will get to compete with Jeremy Colling live on DGN. So that's the key. And then right after that, it just goes right into the 20K CTP giveaway, where we give $4,000 to the fans and $16,000 to the players, just for getting close to the basket. If they get it in, that's as close as you can get. And then Saturday night, we do, of course, the Walmart Ice Cream Social, followed by the pool ball races. And then Sunday is the pond jump. So every night we've got things going on. But wait, there's more, because today we started with the Pro-Am. Tomorrow, the Insider Pass people are going to play the course all gussied up. And then we also have the players party, where we're going candlepin bowling from 3 to 6. And all the players are invited. All the captains are invited. The major sponsors are invited. And we all we rented out the entire alley, the entire bowling alley. Yeah. The lanes are the individual things. The alley's the whole thing. So we got the whole bowling alley. And Terry, I'm really sad you're not going to be here, because I feel like we've gone candlepin bowling in the past, and you probably want a chance to get back at me.
Yeah, where was it? Bayberry Lanes? Is that where you're going, or is there somewhere else?
That is exactly it. That's a hell of a memory.
Thank you. Yeah,
Not a sponsor.
I have an annual complaint that I'm going to keep filing until it gets fixed, which is I love calling the shots. I love being part of this event. I love being here in Bend with Nate and Val and Nate Sexton. But let's pick this show up and take it on the road back to Maple Hill, so that I can be out there and also take in everything you just said. And then I don't have to be in a chair at 5 a.m. as well on the West Coast. But yeah, I want to be back at Maple Hill for the broadcast. So who's ever not listening out on the Disc Golf Network, Mo and others, yeah, I need to get back out there.
Well,
for
Terry,
all the reasons you just said.
I saw the new deck right outside of 18. That's a perfect place for a booth, if you ask me.
That's some big deck energy. So tell us about the deck and some of the other things that are happening out there, Steve.
Well, I feel like the bowling alley would be the ideal place for the booth. Just, I think that would be...
Really?
They've got some really great lighting, some good background music.
Yeah.
It would be nice and quiet.
Nice and quiet, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, there you go. Then
They have
again,
an air hockey
we
table.
have I have broadcast from to keep this in perspective. I have broadcast from a locked liquor cabinet, a locked liquor locker down in in Florida. So
Were you locked in it?
I think
Probably.
at one point I was. And Dixon doesn't drink, so yeah, that was one heck of a ride. So there's nothing that we haven't been subject to at one time or another, and I've been along for
From
this silly
libraries
ride.
to liquor cabinets.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So, but Zuka, I saw a picture I think at one point, but describe to everyone one of the other renovations that's taken place out there.
So, like, in addition to we got new bleachers, and we have, because of the new bleachers on 18, we were able to take and put those bleachers out. Like, we spread bleachers all over the course now. There's, I think, 4 new locations with bleachers. No, 5. There's a lot of there's a lot of new locations with bleachers. But then we also have the Zuka deck, which is going to be for diamond and above ticket holders. The old deck was, just to give you some idea here, the old deck was 480 square feet. The new deck is over 1,500 square feet. And to a person, when you walk out on it, instead of going out 5 feet, you can go out over 15. And people just go, "Oh, this is nice." It's fascinating. So Tom the DJ will be up there. It's going to be a fantastic place for the party at Maple Hill to happen for years to come. Huge shout out to Zuka for looking at Maple Hill and saying, "Yeah, we want to be involved and we want to help make you guys even better." So the Zuka deck at Maple Hill is the place to be.
I give you credit for your restraint on the size, because I think you could have gone bigger. Like 3,000-4,000, just have it keep going up that right side, or technically the left side of the fairway. You just keep running it up there. You never know. I mean, you could just be a lot of fun.
Did you see my original plans? Is that why you're saying that?
No, honestly, I had no idea. But nothing shocks me, Steve. Because I could envision like that deck just riding the whole line of the fairway, and then players throw under it. It's OB, and you get to watch a player from right above you, like right below you. It could be so much fun.
It's about a third the size of what I envisioned.
Okay.
And I would say maybe 10 years down the road we'll continue to build the deck down that side of 18. Right, for now it's where it is.
All right.
From what I understand, when we get done with our show, it gets turned over. Big Germ is on site, so he's going to be doing the emceeing of the 20K giveaway. But give everyone real quick the basics of that. So, I mean, it's going to be confusing, I'm guessing, when it happens. So why don't you give everyone a little bit of a preview right now?
The goal is for it to be confusing and anticlimactic. That's the goal.
Okay.
We succeeded last year, and hopefully we can do it again.
I'm glad I could be in the booth for those calls. Yeah, it was great.
Good. So we pared it down, and everything I say is going to apply to the men and the women. So we pared it down from 8 people down to 4. And we took the top 2 finishers at last year's event. So I think on the women's side, it's Holland and Evelina. And then we take the 2 winners of the fan vote, which is going on now on the MVP Open by OTB socials. And so those 4 people would battle in 3-throw CTPs. So what that means is, so let's say Evelina and Holland throw their CTP and Holland wins. And then they throw their second CTP and Evelina wins. And then they throw the third CTP, and whoever wins that one would advance to the next level. So that's how it goes. So they throw 3 shots each, and each one is a CTP. Did that make sense?
Okay. Yep.
So far, so good.
And then I was going to say, and then it whittles down.
The 4 people would whittle down to 2, and then they would do it, and that's it.
Okay. And the closest person gets how much?
Oh gosh, I actually have a sheet here somewhere. Are you willing to wait like 18 seconds?
Sure.
It's on the order. I'm going to say
want,
on the order of $4,000 or so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
That feels
All
right.
right.
And then second place would probably get 2,000, and third and fourth would probably get 1,000.
And then fans who are out there who have pre-selected or randomly got selected to cheer for a particular person, or how does that work?
You go to the Northeast Women's Disc Golf tent, their booth, which is actually up there by hole 1T, and you buy a seat in the bleachers, and it's $20. And then and we have 150 of those seats, so $3,000 going in, and more than $3,000 will be donated to the Northeast Women Disc Golf Club. So we're helping the women of the Northeast by doing this and all the other myriad of things. So that $3,000 goes in, and then during the 20K CTB giveaway, we'll call your name, and if your player wins, we hand you a $100 bill, something like that, and we will be giving out $4,000 to the spectators. And I will admit, when I did the math, it came out to something like 3,600. So we are going to do some sample drawings before we even start, and we're going to say, here's how we give out money, and we just draw somebody's name out and we hand them $100. So that's how we get to the 4,000. Yeah, you got to give samples. You got to give examples of how to give away $100 bills.
So everyone understands. That might be the least confusing thing you do this weekend is draw a name and hand over $100.
Yeah.
Hopefully. All right. And then, of course, last time you were on the show, that's when you were talking about having a brand new entryway to the mouth of hole number 1 into the tunnel. That is, it's going to be unveiled officially this weekend, right? Pretty much.
Correct. We are doing the ribbon cutting tomorrow, and we've got a bunch of the people that were involved in the construction of the project. We've got some surprise guests that will be there, and we will be doing a ribbon cutting, and we will be doing a name reveal. So that's at 1:30 tomorrow. So if you have a pass to GK Pro Skins, go ahead and come a little early, and you can come watch the name reveal. And I believe DGN is going to make a set piece. I think they're going to record that, and it's going to be like a little snippet. So at some point this weekend, Terry, you might be able to say, and here's where it is, and here's the name of that triple mando, and there you go.
Excellent. Any bold predictions about this weekend? Players or scores, or what does the weather look like, and how will that impact it? Give us some insight.
I have told Kat Merch that I have picked her to win the tournament. And if I have the opportunity to make calls that will hurt the other players, I will do so. And we're going to do everything we can to make sure she wins.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, it might be a little bit off to make such suggestions.
Wait a minute. I shouldn't. No, can you erase that? I should not say that out loud.
Yes. Okay. So Kat Merch, who has not won there, we've seen quite a variance of winners over there. How about on the MPO side?
I do have a prediction. I have told that person that I believe they're going to win, but I'm going to leave that inside my heart. And the reason is because when I make that call that gives them the win, I don't want everybody to know why.
That's that's a really good call. Yeah, that looks out to me. You win.
Yeah. It's a bold move, Cotton.
See how it plays out.
There's been, understandably, throughout the last couple of years, no matter what the messaging is, there is a little bit of confusion with regard to the playoffs, why they are, how they came about, what they really mean in disc golf, and how just DG Disc Golf Pro Tour even structures them. Have you ever had interjection or feedback, or were you on any form of input or committee in terms of where the playoffs are at? You always have a crazy idea or two. So did you have any hand in it?
I think the Pro Tour is doing a good job of slowly walking disc golf forward. The one thing that people have trouble with is big change, as I know better than most. And so I think that they have the idea of the playoffs, and they made a nice incremental change this year by saying you have to use those points and they're worth extra points. And that added some extra importance to the playoffs. And I think they'll make more incremental changes as time goes on. And I'll just go ahead and say it, in 2 to 5 years, I think we'll look back and we won't even understand why we had trouble understanding the playoffs. But right now it's such a new concept. I'm glad that they didn't just make a jump and say, okay, we're in the playoffs and the top 4 people go on. And it's like, we need to massage into this. And, if you're in the 1960s and show people what a car is in the 2020s, they would just go, no, thank you. But if you massage it over time, people get to the point where like, okay, that car actually doesn't make sense. So I think the Pro Tour is doing a good job of walking slowly and being thoughtful about this. And I believe the playoffs do have some meaning, and the meaning will grow.
Some other big things that you've had to do over the last few years, especially with accommodating spectators and fans and everyone that's showing up. The fact that you've charged for volunteers, and then you've also had all these other offerings for spectators. What does it look like for people coming on site right now? Because I know that growth you've had to struggle with. It's been a good problem, but you've had to figure out parking situations and then off-site parking. What's the situation for everyone this year?
So we had off-site parking for real for the first time last year. And I will go ahead and say it was not smooth at all. And my apologies to everyone. The 2 big problems were the parking lots that we were using. While I thought that I'd got them reserved, apparently somebody else got them reserved, and maybe that person is more important in the town than I am. And so we had to shift parking lots, and it was tough. And then the other side of it is on Saturday and Sunday after the tournament, we had 300 people leaving, and we had our 5 shuttle buses or whatever. I'm sorry, I say 5, 2 shuttle buses, and it was not enough. And so this year we have 7 shuttles. One of them is a player shuttle, so it'll do the players, but as soon as it's done, it'll be available for spectators. So call it 6.5 shuttles getting the spectators off site and not making. We want to get the time for that line down, and we will. I've made a guarantee on that. And then where was I going with that? Spectators, the shuttle. I don't know where I went.
On-site parking, yeah. Any of the feedback from last year.
We've expanded on-site parking as well. Oh, I know where I wanted to finish. And we actually we will be parking our cars at Walmart. So the Walmart's about 8 minutes away, and they have plenty of parking. And we've mapped out a section where if I'll just say if you're coming to the MVP Open by OTB and you're parking at Walmart, just go in and go to the way back left, and then that's where Cam is going to be. He'll scan in your little shuttle pass, and then you can get on and go. So, and yeah, that's it. We'll be parking at Walmart, shuttling people in, and doing our best to get them off site as quickly as possible.
What are you projecting for a legitimate on-course, on-site, peak capacity, not peak capacity, peak turnout? What's your projection for that fan number to be?
I think on Sunday we'll probably hit close to 1,300. I think that's where we are right now. we have plans to expand other seating areas and all that, but I think 1,300 is about where we are. We could probably get 1,500 on relatively comfortably. The goal, Jeff has said the goal is to have 5,000 a day. And we will continue to build out our infrastructure to make sure we can reach that in the coming years. We're not there yet, but we keep investing and we'll make it.
All right. One of my final
Can I just
questions
say,
would
Terry,
be, yeah.
I don't understand why that answer seems so corporate to me. I don't understand what just happened there. Did that seem really corporate to you? It seems so.
Yeah, I mean, well, why don't we circle back, and try and push it to the finish line to make sure that you could, whatever, corporate jargon that gets.
It's all about Terry.
Used.
It's all about synergy with the Pro Tour. You need to.
Yeah.
We're going to be proactive, and I'll meet you offline on that.
That's right.
Yes, exactly. Make sure we have all our partners, all together, and yeah. Yeah, good job, Steve. You're a sellout. Sellout.
It just felt so ridiculous. The answer is 1,300. I want to have 5,000 someday.
I'm trying to imagine on where they would be. Like that's crazy.
If anybody's watching online over the course of the weekend, and I highly recommend you do because this is really, really exciting. If you had a choice to watch the MVP Open by OTB or the USDGC, watch this weekend. No question. Okay? I'm coming for you,
Well, it
Jonathan.
depends what subscription they have.
Well,
that might be easier for some than others too. Nothing for nothing. You need a DGN Pro subscription, and I'll make that plug now. You need a DGN Pro subscription to watch the Throw Pink and the USDGC, and you're just part of the regular package there, Steve.
I have a pretty funny story on that, and I want to come back to the whole 14 bleachers, but I have a pretty funny story about DGN Pro subscriptions because I am a DGN Pro subscriber, and I mentioned in our meeting this afternoon, I said, hey, I'd love it if we could get a DGN subscription for the TVs we're going to be putting out on the course. And Brian said, we'll give you this little link here that'll do whatever you need. And I said, I'd love a subscription. And he said, aren't you a subscriber for life or something? And I pulled out my phone and I was like, I literally just got a text that said you charged me $13 for this month's subscription. Like, no, I'm not a lifetime subscriber. But it was nice because there was 7 or 8 representatives. And I basically want to just hand each of them $1 and say thank you for what you're doing because that would be very worthwhile. I'm a DGN subscriber. I will always be, and I love the product that you guys provide. So.
And you get a kickback. You get a kickback.
And I get
you
get
Steve, if you just reach out to the right person and they can make some things happen. Trust me.
I'm happy to pay it. I'm very happy. And I pay it, and don't tell DGN this, but my mom watches on my subscription. So one of my TVs is in Virginia because that's where I am. Anyway, but if you watch the coverage closely on hole 14, you'll see we have new bleachers. Mm-hmm. And we have a new wall on hole 14. And the bleachers, if you're coming from the tee, are just past the wall and to the right. And there's 3 bleachers there. And you're going to look at those and go, those are miraculous. They're beautiful. I want to do the same thing to hole 8 over the next few years. OTB did a really good job of sponsoring that hole with us. And we were able to put a couple hundred, maybe 300 people there. I'll just put it out there to Danny. I want to do it again. And I want to do those bleachers this new way. And I want to get at least twice as many people out there. We have opportunities to get lots more people on Maple Hill and give them a serious show.
I think that brings up a good logistical / strategic question, which is, do you envision people sitting at one spot for the day and being able to consume a ton of groups, obviously like you were just explaining, or do you like the idea of people roaming and being able to take in, hole by hole where they can? Like, do you personally, would you rather kind of start structuring the experience one way or another?
So the answer is, for me personally, the answer would be a hybrid approach. But I see a lot of people going to hole 8 and going to hole 14 and going to hole 6 and behind hole 2. And hold on one second. My computer's saying it's getting tired. I'm going to do this. There you go. Stay with me. When my computer dies, my light's going to go out. I'm going to get dark, but nobody cares about that.
Maple Hill after dark, right?
So I see people going to places and staying, and that's happening. I personally would go to hole 1 and watch a few cards tee off. And then I would go to the pin of hole 2, because it's just a really simple little walk down there. And then I would stay there and watch some of those cards come up hole 2. And this is a general admission ticket I'm talking about. And then I would walk down to hole 6, where there's another pair of bleachers, and I would watch hole 6 for a while. You can also watch people throwing in through the triple mando on hole 1. And then I would go up to hole 7, the end of hole 7, which is where we have Hollow Oak. There's a whole bunch. There's a beer vendor there. There's a kombucha vendor there. There's food vendors there. And so that's like a meeting place. And you can watch the pin of 7. You can watch 14. You can see part of 8. And I would go there and enjoy some food and sort of recharge. And then I would head over to hole 8 and watch that either from the tee side, if I have a red pass, or the pin side if I have a white pass. And then I would go to 14 and sit there for a while. Then I'd go way back at 11, 13. There's more food, more beer, recharge again. We've got cover, and you can watch the amazingly long drives on hole 11, the really technical shots on 13, the big shots coming up on 10. And so we've got these 4 or 5 different locations, and that's how I would consume it. I wouldn't necessarily follow a card, but I would try to time my day so as I move around, the cards are getting deeper and deeper into the field. And then by the end of the day, when I'm at 14 on the way back, I'm maybe watching the lead card, and I'll probably watch them on 15. Then I'm going to run around to 18 and try to get some seats in the new bleachers.
Okay, I like it. What, in order to make all of this happen?
Just so you know, I would love to be a spectator. I want to do that. I just want to. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the day that I don't have to do anything and I can just spectate.
I was going to say, you just have to, not wear your Spock suit or something and blend in, and then go out and actually do everything you just described. Clearly, massive amount of work, and you've had a very unique way of going about having spotters and volunteers and everything else throughout all these years. Roughly, what does the staff, what does the crew look like for you to pull off the event this year, just so everyone at home has some idea what it takes to pull this off?
We've got about a dozen staff each day starting Saturday before the event, up through Wednesday. And then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we have 80 to 100, maybe 120 staff on the last day. And then we'll have another 15 to 20 for breakdown. All told, we're probably around 150 staff. We do mandate that staff work a minimum of 3 days in order to be on staff. In order to have the right to give us money to be on staff, you have to work at least 3 days. And we have about 85% staff retention. We don't ever advertise externally for staff anymore. We just ask our current staff, if there's anybody that you want to bring in, invite them in. But that's how you get to be on staff now, is somebody on staff. We do have a wait list for staff, and we do get through it. If you joined the wait list now, you would be into the 2025 MVP on staff if you wanted to be.
That's some solid mafia shit right there. Like you only can be brought in by referral. You have to pay to be a part, and you have to pay to then go work after you've made a commitment of at least being there 3 of the days.
Correct.
And people think that like some shit I say is crazy, but yet you get away with all of this. I don't know how that checks out, but it's very impressive.
The funny thing, Terry, is you do know, and Johnny does know exactly why that works. And the staff actually jokes about it. They're just like, yeah, I pay this, and yeah, I'm very, very happy.
Oh, you're an idiot too? No. I gave him more than he asked this year. I gave him 300. It's awesome. Oh, cool. I bid for my spot. Yeah, I can just...
Actually, this year we actually did give the option of paying more.
Okay.
And about 60% took us up on it.
That says everything. It truly does. We make the jokes, but it says everything about you and the event and the rest of the crew
and the
experience that it is, and the staff, and the staff's family that comes in and is part of it. That clearly, like, the proof's in that pudding right there. There's no doubt about it. So
you said it right there, Terry. They really are family. It feels a lot like summer camp. I don't know if I had the experience of going to the same summer camp for like 6 or 7 years in a row. And it's funny, why didn't I graduate summer camp? Every time you go there, you just see all your friends again from all the other places. And this feels a lot like that. You get to see all your favorite people again and have a really good time putting on a really fun event that's clearly superior to the USDGC.
I don't think Jonathan watches on the regular. I know some of his crew does. They invited us actually to do some podcasting down at the USDGC. So
they've got one up on you.
Yeah.
They invited us on site to do some SmashBoxx podcasting. That's something that I don't know if MVP's ever done.
Did you want me to come down there for the show? Is that what you're asking?
What was that? You're breaking up. Sorry.
Huh?
Anyway.
Our signal's bad. Are we on hole 11 or 12?
Johnny, I have to ask, how are you doing these days? I assume your full-time gig. Do you still have a job, or is your full-time gig DGN?
I do. That's funny. I don't do any DGN anymore.
Nothing.
Yeah, I've almost pretty much hung up. Literally, they're hanging right there. The headphones.
Wow.
And they've got they've got director Ian there that does all that stuff. Gary's control room manager. I have passed on most of the knowledge that I have to all of them, and I'm able to just relax now and watch, be a viewer, and focus a lot more on Skip Ace. So that's
Skip Ace is killing it.
Thank you.
I every year the first 3 to 4 weeks I'm in it, and then I forget, and then I'm not. But I love Skip Ace. I share it with all my family and friends.
That's good.
Both of family and friends.
Yeah, both your friends. Next year was even better. I'm excited. I've already built out a ton of new features, and literally I'm waiting till the Tour Championship to shut the site down so I can upload all the new things I've been working on for the last 3 or 4 months. So I'm
very, very excited. Well, disc golf is very lucky to have you doing something, and Skip Ace. Hey, there it goes. So the lighting just got worse. That means it's bedtime for me.
So then, I'll say before you leave, you said you had some information to share that only like 8 people in the world knew.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's so funny. It was on my screen the whole time.
And now it's off. The computer's gone. Sorry, I don't remember.
So we are doing a mixed doubles championship in between the FPO and MPO each day. And if you come on site during the tournament and you see people playing in a mixed doubles match play tournament, that's what's going on. And the thing that I really wanted to share was the acronym, because I think, Terry, you were talking about how we change the name all the time. And this is the Northeast, and I had this written down, so you guys might want to write it down so we know what the letters are. But the Northeast Mixed State Doubles Championship at the MVP Open by OTB. And I don't know what that L reads out to, but that's the event that we're holding. And that's
need more balls in there.
I need more. Well, it ends with by OTB. That's like OXO.
So how are you?
All right, Northeast Mixed State doubles championship at MVP Open by OTB Northeast Mixed State Doubles.
Yeah. State, like the teams are supposed to be from the same state. I think we have one team that's not, but her husband was hurt, so we let her get another person.
Another husband. We let her get another husband.
I didn't say that. I mean, another person.
Just go to the ice cream social. Things happen. All right.
Those root beer floats. Yummy.
It's the sprinkles that'll get you. All right. So who in the world's playing in this?
Walmart sells the gallon jugs of ice cream. And, you know, you have your chocolate, your vanilla, and they probably do a Neapolitan. But they've got cookies and cream. I think they have chocolate chip cookie dough and these big gallons. Like, this is the reason you need the individually served things. Like, this is out of control. A gallon of ice cream that's really, really good. Like, that's...
So is the ice cream the trophy? Or... No. So who like give us examples of who might be playing in this, and how did they qualify and or enter to play in it?
They got in by invite. This was an invitational, and I collaborated with the Northeast Women's Disc Golf Group to get mixed doubles teams. They'll be playing alternate shot match play doubles. Oh, the word match play is in there too.
Yeah, so, and invitational. We got to get that word in there.
And invitational, yeah. You could end it with match play invitational. So it would be MOXOMI, Moxami. That's the way it ends, Moxami. So it's a match play invitational. So, but everybody, all the teams were invited, and two teams would play on Thursday, and then two other teams would play on Friday. And then the losing teams will play on Saturday in the bronze match, and then the winning teams will play on Sunday in the gold match.
So after the lead card of FPO tees off, and all the cameras follow them, 10 to 12 minutes later, we've got a doubles match play before the first round or the first card of MPO tees off.
Correct. And what we're doing here, we have basically a 40-minute gap. And I don't want people, we'll just use the 8 holes as an example, but there's people all over the course camped out. Mm-hmm. I don't want them camping out just sitting there for 40 minutes wondering what is going on. So we're throwing an extra thing for them to watch in that 40 minutes. It'll only fill 10 to 15 minutes of that 40, but it'll fill hopefully a good enough amount that they are saying, okay, we're okay just waiting here for another 15 minutes. Or the other card's right behind them.
I don't think any...
I mean, if the card isn't good enough...
I've seen the 8 holes. I don't think any of them are moving. Maybe stumbling. Not moving.
Maybe, yeah. Oh my gosh. One of the 8 holes stopped by, and he's the guy that wears the black mullet, the Mohawk mullet. And I was talking to him for almost a minute, and then I was like, oh my God, I know who you are. Like, I didn't even recognize him because 8 times out of 10 that I talked to him, he's got the mullet on, and it's a whole different human inside there. And it was very fun. When like the brain went click, click. Oh, I know where I am now.
Anyway. Just to put a bow on your match play, invitational, mixed doubles, state, whatever. These are New England locals that aren't necessarily that clearly aren't playing in the event, and so may it be of a amateur or masters age or caliber. Like, where are they coming from?
They're all I would call them New England regional pros. But I'll go ahead and caveat that with, I think New England has a relatively weak pro scene. Nothing against New England, sorry guys. But I feel like the Virginia pro scene and the Arizona pro scene is a little better. Like, if we took our regional pros and we went to Colorado, I think our regional pros wouldn't do so good. So that's the pool that we're pulling from, and I think it's going to be a pretty entertaining battle, because match play, all that matters is that drive and that putt, and playing alternate shot mixed doubles is alternate shot ASMD. And then Moxie Me. So it's going to be exciting.
Uh-huh.
Is there a place where we can follow along? Is it on
No.
UDisc or
Nope.
anything? Oh no. Okay.
There is a place
Vibram
you can follow
Open
along
presented
called
by
Maple Hill.
presented by MapleHill.com, probably. One of his old Wixie sites or something.
at the site of the former Vibram Open.
Yes. You got to be old enough to get some of that, but yeah, wow. All right. I don't know if we have anything else. I think we've touched on, unless there's other stuff we need to know. I think we've touched on everything we need to know for now.
Other than the new bridge tunnel, any significant changes to the course?
Yes, holes 6, 7, 9, 14 just got the new OB and has some new OB rules. 14 and the OB on 18. So other than that, no.
Okay. What's most of those other ones I don't care about. The OB on 18. What's different on OB on 18?
So I was actually happy. Paul Macbeth was finished his round probably an hour, 2 hours. I don't even know what time it is, but it was a while, 4 hours ago. And he recommended this change to us about 3 years ago. And we've sort of just like the Pro Tour with the playoffs, we inched our way to it. And this year we fully implemented his idea, which was bringing the OB line at the top of the fairway down 80 feet or so. So if you remember where Corey Ellis took his shot for the win against Simon, he would have been inbounds by about 5 feet.
Wow.
Like that's basically where the line is. So if you have a drive, I'll just say an average drive, your second shot, you can either go for a 120, 140 foot layup to the OB line, or you go for it, which is going to be a 280 to 300 foot shot onto the green. And the idea being, it's going to be difficult for some of these players to swallow that 120 foot layup to give themselves a very good look at par, because they're just going to want to go for it. But golf is a mental game, and I think when Paul recommended this change, he saw, I think correctly, that you need to play golf. You need to decide, what is the best way for me to score on this hole? Is my best score a par, or can I really make that shot? And it's going to be fun to watch people make that decision.
And are the OB rules similar? Is there a drop zone still?
So the OB on 18 has not changed. I'm sorry for cutting you off, but I think I know your question.
Yeah.
The OB rules on 18 have not changed. You always play the last place you are in bounds, unless the last place you are in bounds is the green. Mm-hmm. And in that case, you don't go on the green, you go to the drop zone.
Okay, still, I was just thinking it's always been relatively fun and exciting to watch players have to throw from the drop zone to try to put one in, and if that wasn't an available option, I might have been a little sad. But we'll see how it plays out.
So wait, you get to sit on the couch and watch the MVP Open by OTB, arguably the greatest event in the next 4 weeks.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Actually, that's 3 weeks even. And you're still sad?
No, I'm not going to be sad because I get to watch people try to make it from the drop zone.
But if it wasn't for the drop zone, like, that's the difference between happy and sad for you. Like, you're on a razor's edge here.
I mean, it's tight. It's tight, Steve. I would only be sad when they showed hole 18. I'd be happy every other time. It'd be an emotional roller coaster.
You're like a chipmunk on a razor's edge.
Yeah. And chipmunks have a good history at Maple Hill. We've had Chipmunk Gate.
Yes, they do.
You know?
You should pull up that tape, too.
Beep, boop, beep, boop, boop, boop.
Yeah. Terry Miller, thank you very much. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think we've covered pretty much everything, unless there's other stuff. But thanks for joining us and give us a little preview of things we should be expecting this weekend. Again, at one of the most beloved places on the tour. And, we appreciate it.
I will close by saying that Maple Hill is really, really lucky to have this tournament here. MVP is an amazing sponsor who I do have a lot of wacky ideas, and they don't just throw them all away. Working with Andrew at MVP and the whole team makes our lives much, much easier. Working with OTB to sell our discs and help raise the money for all of this infrastructure improvements. Just it's so much fun being able to just say, okay, that's going to cost how much? Yes, we definitely want to do it. And having the ability to do that because of our great partners is awesome to me. And proactive offline and all those other words. But in reality, they are great people to work with, and I'm tickled pink to have those relationships. We do have the world's greatest staff, and we do. I'm not going to say we have the world's greatest spectators. I think Michigan does a great job. Also, I haven't been there in a while, but if they haven't stepped up their game, we are better than them. And if they have, then I don't know for sure.
As long as you can correctly bust them in and out, so that might be back on.
That's true. If I mess up the busing, the shuttling again, we might not have the best bands next year.
All right, everyone. All right, everyone. Well, Steve, we appreciate you joining us. We appreciate the insight. We wish you the best of luck this weekend. I know I'll be excited to be in the booth calling the shots, and Johnny will be at home watching it from his couch. I mean, it doesn't get much better than this. So thank you so much, and say hello and big hugs and love to everyone out there. I'll certainly be missing everyone again out at Maple Hill.
Thank you both. Love you.
Love you too, Steve.
All right. See you, buddy.
Bye.
Steve Dodge.
That guy's a character. Always is, always has been, always will be.
Yes. The opportunity to maybe get an invite to possibly volunteer or to pay to possibly volunteer is definitely a solid game plan, and it continues to work, again, because of the property, and more so because of the way you're treated, the way you become a part of the family, and the way you become part of something so much bigger. You know, to think back and to know you were part of the moments that will take place this year, that it hasn't even happened, and I can already imagine how your heart is filled when you leave that property, and that, I think, is echoed by not only the staff and all the other volunteers and people, but then also all of the players year in and year out. So very, very cool and very exciting. So best of luck to them.
I'm excited to see some of the changes, but yeah, I was going to say, let's talk about the previous week. Disc Golf Pro Tour playoffs. Discraft Green Mountain Championship at Smuggler's Notch.
You got it. Resort. You got to get in there. Smuggler's Notch Resort. Smuggler's Notch is a spot.
The resort is a location. You're right. All right, let's talk about
which
FPO
no one
first.
Yelled at me for, but I tried to get it in there. I wanted to get it in there. It is America's Family Resort.
Yes.
Now that one I got paid for.
Yeah, you get paid for right there too, huh? I want to cut of that.
No, I
want to cut of that. Let's start with FPO because that was the exciting finish that we saw. Going into the final round, we had a tie in first place between Owen Scoggins and Silvas Heartbreak, with Missy Gannon one stroke behind them, tied with Kristen Tatar. It was really a 4-woman race going into the final round, and Silva started out hot. She got 2 of the first 4. Owen got 3 of the first 5. 3 of the first 6. And Kristen Tatar bogeyed to start out with. So, and then went on a long par streak. After the front 9, Silva had picked up quite a few more birdies. Owen had kind of slowed down. She wasn't getting the same amount of birdies, but she was just kind of hanging there. But really, this was Silva Sarnen's event with about, I would say, 5 holes to go. Kristen Tatar around hole 9 kind of started to pick up the pace. And unfortunately, Silva fell apart. I don't know if there's a better way to put it. She just I think the moment got her. We've said the same thing about Holland Hanley in the past. We've seen it from other players in general. Just going into hole 15, she had like a 5-stroke lead, 6-stroke lead. Silva did over
Not
Kristen.
Quite that many, but wasn't quite still 5 or 6.
I think maybe it was, considering Silva went bogey, bogey, par, bogey, and Kristen Shaw went birdie, par, par, birdie. That's 5 strokes to me, Terry.
5 strokes over 4 holes. Yeah.
5 strokes over 4 holes. And unfortunately, she went into hole 15, which is a turnover, a very difficult turnover shot for a backhand. Most players will throw a forehand there, and she pulled the disc straight right, hits the tree, kicks left, ends up with a bogey. Tatar, I don't want to say parks it with a forehand, but she gets relatively close and is able to convert the birdie. Hole 16, which is the long tunnel shot that opens up to the field. Silva had a bad drive. Well, it was a mediocre drive that ended up in an awkward spot, but she was able to get out and get into the opening from that spot, which was a difficult spot to be in. And she just she choked away a putt. Honestly, she hit it a little wide right and it fell out. It didn't stick. It wasn't a great putt. Hole 17, they both parred. Silva went at what looked to be just over a 40-footer and didn't even draw chains. Luckily, was able to hit the comeback. And then on hole 18, Silva, makes the mistake that, as you said on the broadcast, if you're going to make a mistake, you make this one. She went out of bounds left. Problem is, the goal is to not make a mistake. And she had a 2-stroke lead going into that final hole. She took a bogey. Tatar, with her great forehand, is able to throw a shot and then throw a forehand up and down and get to within 30. I think she was even within 20 and was able to just get the birdie. And Silva, unfortunately, went OB, came up short, and then drew good chain from like 45 feet, but ultimately chained out and it fell out. And at that point, it was a lot of people felt the momentum was in Kristen's favor, especially on hole 18, where Silva doesn't have a forehand. Because that second shot is, unless you're like risky off to the left, that's a difficult shot. Trying to do what Silva did, which was go up the gut underneath of the tree. You have such a low ceiling there that it's hard to get the disc under the basket without flirting with the trees. And she did. She kind of nicked the trees a little bit, slowed her down, and she came up again, 40 plus short, and then hit the basket, rolled OB, and it was over. Like that. At that point, I was honestly kind of surprised during the regular round she went at it for fear of that, hitting the basket and rolling, just like she did in the playoff scenario. But with the way she had been putting, the basket earlier in the round looked huge. And she just, unfortunately, Silva, the story is Silva losing as opposed to Kristen winning. And now, to be fair, Kristen shot a 10-20 rated round. She shot tied with the hot round at 5 under. It's not like she slouched off. She had a rough start, but this was Silva's event to lose, and as we saw, she lost it.
Yeah, it's wild to think, and Kristen, of course, summarizes it perfectly when she said, talks about being patient and stepping up and having an opportunity and remaining calm and everything else that she's talked about. It's wild to think that even if you go back, even if you watched it live or in post-production and you go back and start at the beginning and you watch through the first, 7, 8, 9 holes, you still would probably convince yourself, oh yeah, Silva's got this one. Like you'd probably even confuse yourself saying, oh no, there's no way. It was, and I guess you carry on. I mean, she was birdieing all the way through 13. She was 4, 5, 6. She was 7 down.
Yeah, she was on pace.
Holes.
She was on pace. She was at the course record. 7 down was the course record in the first round that Kristen, I believe, shot.
That Kristen set.
And she was on pace to beat it, because you just have to think, you're like, all right, she's probably not going to get 15 with the way she throws, but she can get 16. She could get 17. That's a relatively easy hole. And 18's a possibility. I'm like, she might come out at 8 or 9 under. And then just the weight of the event got her.
It's certainly wild, and you're, as Steve and we already talked about, your heart has to go out to her in the sense that it was crazy to watch it unfold the way it did, and then you can flip all that on its head and say it's crazy to watch Kristen be able to strike, to somehow find a few of those birdies late to be there in the hunt. I mean, I think it's fair to say, not only did you think Kristen wasn't going to win, you thought, well, maybe somebody else, if it's somebody else that's not Silva, it's going to be Owen, right? Or whatever. It's not going to be Kristen. It could be someone else if it's not Silva. And then the fact that she was just there, ready to go, it just says so much. So
I mean, it says a lot about Kristen that she fought back, that she performed poorly in the front 9 and didn't give up.
Yes,
she deserved this win in that she continued to scratch and claw her way up that leaderboard when she was, I think, in 4th place, maybe even 5th place at one point, and then just worked her way up by that back 9. And we've seen the FPO have some dramatic swings and exciting finishes. And that's just kind of what happened here. Speaking of which, as we know, that went to a playoff. 3rd place, Owen Scoggins at 17 under. Owen, again, rough back 9, taking a bogey on 12, a double on 16, and then a single on 18. Holland Hanley works her way up, shooting a 5 down. She went up 3 spots into 4th place. Missy Gannon in 5th place. Henna in 6th. Haley King in 7th. Someone who I saw a lot of highlights from, Annika Sten. She was all over the highlights that round. She was performing really well, again, up until those last few holes. 9th place, Kat Murch, tied with Evelina Salonen. That is your top 10 in FPO.
And things to make note of, kind of keeping an eye on, and I know we really drove it home on the broadcast, that we're looking at the last couple of people who are going to potentially make it into, they still have this weekend to play, but the Tour Championship, knowing that we're taking the top 20 women, make it into the Tour Championship, coming into this weekend, the main conversation kind of focused on Hannah Wynn, along with Eliezer Midling, and then Stacy Kiefer. And so when it was all said and done by this weekend, we see both Hannah and Eliezer actually ended up tying. Stacy Kiefer was quite a few spots, was 4 strokes, but ultimately 8 spots behind those 2 women. So we'll continue to keep an eye on that, and that's all available and out there for people to follow. Obviously, 4 more rounds to go, but they were all right there on the bubble. And I'll add in real quick and update that Lisa Fakis is just above them when it comes to making it into the Tour Championship, and knowing any points you get at this event, add on. We're no longer at a spot
where the
Tour Championship, where you're dropping any points in these playoff events. They all are additive, and no matter what you've done throughout the year, they add on. And Lisa Fakis was surprisingly not in the field, and she graciously replied to me when I asked, am I really not seeing you in the field? And she said, yeah, a little. I'm resting and relaxing. I think she said it might be a torn lat or something of that nature that she's struggling with, and hoping to rest up to finish strong, obviously at MVP, and then make it to the throw pink in the Tour Championship. But she's just above that bubble, and I can't say she's rolling the dice. If you're injured, you can't play. But it's someone else to kind of keep watch of. And then went on to celebrate, I think, her birthday yesterday. So we'll get that in there. Lisa Fakis, happy birthday to you. So, all right, let's move over to some MPO action. And, it wasn't clear after round 1, obviously. But then it just seemed like Gannon Burr has another gear, and right now that gear, no one else has that gear. Or if they do, if they do find that gear, they're revving at like 8,000 RPMs, and Gannon gets to that gear and he's like, yeah, this is cool. I can chug along at, I'm only revving at 3,000 RPMs. Like, this is easy for me once I get to that gear. It's kind of ridiculous.
He sure makes it look really easy. And there's a lot of talk right now online in general about the excitement level of the events. That Gannon, I know you're shaking your head, that Gannon Buhr particularly is making disc golf boring. That is just what
like
I'm
Kristen
seeing.
did.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Right?
I don't agree with this take by any means, because I never felt that way in 2019 with Paul. I never felt that way watching Paul dominate. And I feel like we're kind of, and it's a little bit early for that, even though, like I said, this might be arguably the second best season we've ever seen, maybe third behind Paul in recent memory. I'm not going back to Climo years. We're kind of sticking in the Pro Tour years right now. Because most people didn't see Climo play, because you couldn't, because there was no tape of it. Unless you had a Super 8 player, maybe then you could get some things. But watching Gannon perform the way he does is, to me, it's fun and exciting. It's just a different level. Where we used to wonder about 25 and 30-foot putts, now I'm wondering about 40 to 50-foot putts. Like, oh, is he going to put this one in? Is he going to put this one in? Because the other ones are a shock when he misses them. Like, when he misses a 25-footer for whatever reason, whether, like, we saw him, he missed it on 17 on that final, no, it was the third round, I think, is what it was.
Second round.
Was it the second round where he just, that's right, because he was shooting, he was basically shooting a perfect round. I know he had a par on 8, but he laid up on it. He didn't attack the pin. And so when he just airballed 17 during round 2, you're like, what? Like, what the hell is going on? That to me was crazy. But just in general, he has his game figured out right now. And I don't know if we're going to continue to see this. Hindsight's going to be 2020. If we get 3 more years of this, then we'll have to wait and see. What I think this does is just make it even more exciting when someone steps up and beats him. When you have a Ricky that can best Gannon, everyone's gonna be like, wow, he bested the best. And that's what I want to see. I want to see the best players play at their top capability. And Gannon's doing that right now to a level of which, again, we haven't seen in a few years.
And he's doing things so almost flawlessly. Like, and I know both Nates really hit on this, and the more I think about it, the more, of course, I agree with their observation, which is when he was playing, especially Fox Run, both rounds, it wasn't like, oh, I'm flirting with this, or I just skated by, or maybe that was a close call and I got a good break. Like, some of those more accurate tee shots that were required, and you think specifically, hole 15 is one that always comes to mind, is just right down the center of the fairway, hitting it with just the right speed, angle, everything. Everything about the shot is perfect. And it wasn't any additional components or factors to it. And to just have that on repeat, again, bold or not bold, all that it's proven to me with the most recent chatter of saying he's making it boring, or any one person makes it boring if they were to dominate to this degree, it just goes to prove we are so far past pleasing anyone. Because to have an argument that somebody's too damn good and it's not fun to watch golf get played seems ludicrous to me. He's blowing people out of the water. I mean, what, on most events, or at least these 4-round events, how in the world, I mean, at that point, if you may hate it, at least do some observing, take some notes, figure out what he's doing so right that you can incorporate into your game. Maybe you have to flip the narrative just a little bit of like, okay, he's going to win. I think it feels like a foregone conclusion he's going to win. What can I take from this rather than I don't know. It's such a silly argument to say, God, I hate it. This guy's too good.
Well, I think we're at a point.
Bizarre argument.
We're at a point where a lot of people who grew up as a Paul McBeth fan, these people that came into the sport when Paul was at his prime, 2015 through 2019, 2020, like Paul, it was Paul. Like it was Paul and Rick, but it was Paul. And now Paul isn't doing Paul things anymore. Like he's just not. Age is catching up to him. His life, he's doing other things that I honestly don't feel like he's as focused on his day-to-day game as probably he used to be. And I can't fault him for that. So we have this group of people who are huge Paul fans that are now kind of left out in the cold. And I think you're going to see in about 3 years this huge swell of Gannon Burr fans. As more people come in the sport, we obviously will lose some people. Some people will migrate, or they will change fandom, if you so to speak, if you want. But Gannon's still pretty new on the scene. Like it or not, it feels like he's been here a while, but it's really only been about 2 years. And he is just that player. He is that guy. And you are going to see kids emulate him in years to come. Like right now, you can pick out a half a dozen top pros and you can look at them and go, they modeled their putt after Paul McBeth. Gannon isn't one of those players. Gannon's putt looks almost nothing like Paul's. But I bet you in 5 or 6 or 7 years, you're going to watch a bunch of kids and go, oh, look at that kid. He putts a little bit sideways. He comes right from his hip like Gannon does. He's got that Gannon style. And there will be Gannon fans. And whether Gannon is still top of the game in 5 or 6 years, who knows? But I think we'll see it again. Somebody will break the sport and they'll be like, God, I really miss the time when Gannon was just kicking butt. That's what we will hear. Like, it's just fandom. And everyone can have their opinion, but I personally enjoy watching someone go nuts, go crazy. And because it doesn't matter the course type. It doesn't matter if it's a long open course or a wooded course. Gannon just has the shots. And sit down, buckle up. Odds are we're in for at least a couple more years of this, because there's not a person in our sport right now that has shown the peaks that he has with the consistency that he has. It's just true. Like Kelvin is a top 5 player. Usually he's in the top 3, top 4, top 5, and he's there consistently. Gannon is always feels like he's in first place. And it's a little recency bias. I understand, because it's been a month and a half or a month of him just dominating.
Yeah.
But we've seen it. He just has that high that nobody else seems to have right now. And he might have an off week, either whatever, but it's I don't think anyone touches him right now.
No, and I'll back up and say I can understand anyone being a fan or not being a fan of a person, a personality or the way they do things or carry themselves, or you're a fan because of those exact same things. Like, I get all of that. But to say that he just makes golf boring is something I just don't, I guess I just don't understand. Someone is playing at an excellent level, and he is surpassing everyone else that just simply can't keep up with him. That's not a Gannon problem. That's a you problem, in my opinion, or it's the rest of the field problem. Because Gannon's not going to do anything to change that, or doesn't want to do anything to change it. And let me just for the sake of saying it for you people, a year ago, some people got annoyed that Kristen was so boring to watch. That FPO was so boring to watch that if Kristen's in the field, she's just going to win, and she did. And this is no slight on Kristen, but Kristen's not winning every event anymore. We clearly have other women that have stepped up. Kristen is still the best woman in the world. Of course she is. Not suggesting otherwise. But Kristen isn't coming out of the gate and then just blowing everyone away and then walking away the winner week in and week out. She made it very exciting this weekend by struggling all 4 rounds of opening her rounds. But it's just I'm not going to call it hypocrisy, but it is the irony to me of the people that were just whining a year ago, saying how boring she makes disc golf. But then you also get the same, or not the same, you get a different version of that, which is, well, disc golf's so boring to watch if she's not in the field. Well,
Yeah.
which is it? Is it boring to watch because you're not seeing her excellence, or you're bored because she's too excellent? It just all encompasses and goes under the umbrella of you can't please everyone. I don't know what fans want any more clearly, but it does amuse me that you have people that have these takes that, well, he's winning too much, it's boring.
Yeah, and someone said you had that with Paige Pierce for a few years as well. Yeah, it felt like almost every other year you kind of had a Paige Cat go back and forth as to who was going to dominate that year. But I will still stand on my soapbox and say I can understand if you're not as excited about Gannon, and I will say that I think people would be more excited if he had a rival, and he has none right now. None. That's part of I think that's part of the problem, that there was a Ricky to a Paul. There was a Barry to a Kenny. Like, there is
I get it, but fast forward
now,
6 months. At 6 months, and maybe Evan Smith is right there with him every
Luke Taylor.
single weekend.
It could be anybody. Like, I'm with you, but right now at this point, there is no rival. Everyone wanted it to be AB and Gannon. Like, kind of you've got, you know, the cool Arizona kid versus, you know, the Midwest, you know, the big, they're both big, long, and lanky, so you can't really frame one. But the Midwest kid versus, you know, the Arizona cool kid. That didn't pan out. AB shot really well at the beginning of the season, but just kind of vanished a little bit. I think that again, I'm going to die on this hill a little bit, that if there's not a good rivalry, I can understand. That. That drives people. Whether you like it or not, it divides camps, but it also brings up excitement if you have a rival. And the sport right now, the best players in our sport are Kelvin, Isaac, Gannon. Right there. Those are your three. Those are your top three right now, I think. Any arguments? Like, and they're all chummy.
Yeah, no, I mean, we had this discussion months ago about how significant rivals are. You know, are they good for the sport?
Yes.
And then or how do you manufacture one? I mean, somebody needs to rise.
Yep.
Somebody needs to rise to catch Gannon. That's all there is to it. But
I agree, and I hope we see
it. At the same time, Gannon's not hoping for that. No, I mean, of course he's not. He's perfectly content dominating any given weekend that he can.
I don't know.
So,
if you give him like 6 months, and everyone loves to win, at some point, if he's winning by 3, 4, 5 a lot, at some point I bet he thinks, man, I wish somebody would, somebody would push me. I wish somebody would push me a little bit. Now, he's not going to stop winning, even if nobody does. He's not going to stop being the best that he is. I just think it would be really cool to have someone be able to step up and play to Gannon's, someone to compete with Gannon on a regular basis. And we've got a random person every now and again.
I bet you every player is hoping to do that too.
I guarantee you they are. I guarantee you they are.
I bet you everyone at home is saying, man, I really wish I was within 1 or 2 of Gannon this weekend. I think they're all thinking that.
And Ricky,
I'm sure no one's complacent or excited about where they finished.
Ricky could be. If he wouldn't have that one bad round, he'd be right there. But he tends to have that one bad round, then he plays catch up for like 3 rounds, and he shoots almost better than Gannon, or at least the same. It's just that Gannon is so consistent.
All right, well, we're going to round. I'll round out our top 10.
Gannon
Burr, of course, your winner in the most boring, terrible fashion ever. I hated every second of it. Burr wins by 7 over Ricky, partially because Ricky kind of intentionally gave 1 or 2 away at the end, getting silly, which was perfectly fine for him to do. Wysocki in second. Evan Smith, who's been playing great golf as of late because we're seeing him more and more frequently, finishes in third. Alden Harris with one of the best finishes of the year, and also what I believe is his single largest cash of his career in taking fourth. I looked that up right after we closed out the show on Sunday. I think that was the case. Corey Ellis battled back strong with only one par in the final round to ultimately shoot in a tie for fifth, along with Joey Buckets. Along with Joey Buckets. Eagle McMahon has a good final round to tie up Andrew Presnell and Paul Macbeth. And then rounding out your top 10 included Adam Hammes, Casey White, and Isaac Robinson. There's your top 10. And Nathan Queen, I'm going to give a shout out to as well. We saw him making a charge. Obviously, the Cinderella story from a few years ago at the Pro Tour Championship. And, I can't say that we talk about him on the regular, but constantly cutting to him this weekend and seeing some of his shots for a top 15 or so finish was pretty cool to see as well. And nothing for nothing on the other side. Other side's not the right word, but his significant other being Rebecca Cox. She also has been playing. We are talking about her almost every single weekend at some point or another. So Rebecca Cox getting more and more dialed in, it feels like, as well. So, all right, that was your Green Mountain Championship. Somewhere I had a question maybe for Steve, but just thinking 75,000 added cash into the playoff event, which used to be an insane number just a couple of years ago to think about having 75 added to any tournament. Now that's what we're seeing for the playoff. It's going to be at least that, maybe even more at the MVP this weekend. 15 grand went to Gannon Burr for first, 10 grand going to Kristen Tatar. Crazy. I mean, our draws were dropping a couple years ago and 10 grand was first place for Worlds in FPO, and now we're seeing a playoff event. Obviously, we've seen the Tour Championships at 30 and 40 grand over the last couple of years, respectively, but the money's getting bigger and bigger. I will quickly challenge someone's math. I know we kind of talked about what could happen, and Gannon referenced it even as well, talking about single season earnings. I think someone's math was off. They were like basically saying, well, if he ran the table in so many words, he's going to get to 400. I don't. That number's not.
400,000?
That math doesn't math. Yeah, I don't.
No.
I'm trying to hold back online a little bit, because
unless the Tour Championship
no
is worth 200,000, unless the Tour Championship's worth 200,000 this year.
Yeah, even if I know something is dead wrong, even if I do in the most polite, kind, and sensitive way want to interject, I'm just gonna try to hold back more. But yeah, that was some of the math that didn't math for me that I saw today.
And maybe they were assuming his contract as well, like a total amount.
Well, then they're even more ignorant than I would have given them the math for.
I don't know.
I don't know. Yes, he's close to 200. He right now. No, right now, what is he at? Like 127 plus another 15, so 142.
Yeah, he's almost at.
Play pretend and say it's another 15 for MVP. So 142, what is that? 157. Play pretend and say he wins USDGC for 20.
20, yeah.
Maybe. 25, 30? I don't even know what it's going for. Let's give him 30 just for funsies. So 157, that's 187, right? And then let's just, again, for funsies, say that they're going from 40 to 50 at the Tour Championship, which I have no idea what it's going to be. Well, let's say they go to 50. What does that still equal? Not even 250,000?
No, it'd be like 230, 220.
Total?
Yeah, I don't know.
Whatever?
Yeah, well, whatever.
Yeah. Somebody online has it right. It says it'd be 200 and something, right? Yeah. And that's giving them the benefit of running the table of all the biggest events. So, nonetheless, it's going to be an insane season, no matter what. If he takes fifth at all of those remaining three events, he's still going to be doing just fine.
He's got Player of the Year locked up, period. There's no chance anyone else catches him unless Anthony Barella runs the table. I think Anthony Barella running the rest of the table would be the only way that any other player could touch Gannon Burr this year. And that's only because AB had that miraculous, phenomenal start. If he were to kind of sandwich that with a phenomenal finish, there might be an argument. But yeah, with the way AB is playing right now, that's not likely. But it wouldn't shock me either because the way AB goes up and down is, how the wind blows. So
yeah, and I'll just add in there, again, there was some confusion. The Player of the Year for the PDGA is now completely statistically driven. In fact, I'm going to put it in the chat. Beep,
yeah.
Click. Bing,
Yeah,
bong.
so you have to
All right,
kind
there
of
it is.
distinguish if you're talking Player of the Year PDGA, Player of the Year Disc Golf Pro Tour.
Correct, and that is worth distinguishing. Some of the other accolades that are given out, namely Disc Golf Pro Tour, are not completely statistically driven in that sense. So I know there is always an argument. I feel like whenever we're on a broadcast within the DGN, broadcasting a Disc Golf Pro Tour event, it's implied or could be or should be assumed that we're talking Disc Golf Pro Tour accolades then.
Mm-hmm.
But I can totally understand some of the confusion. But yes, how the Pro Tour does their Player of the Year versus how the PDGA does it is different. Right now, when you look at and I just linked to it, I think it's updated weekly or bi-weekly. Standings are updated every Wednesday at noon Eastern. Gannon Burr has 633 points. Ricky Wysocki has 420 points. Kelvin Heimberg has 405 points, and Anthony Barella has 347 points. So when you're looking at it in that capacity from a PDGA perspective, just know those are a set of calculations that are different than how the Pro Tour arrives at their awards.
Based on PDGA, if Ricky ran the table and Gannon played very poorly the last actually technically it's only 2 events, because I don't think they're going to count. They won't count the tour finale and the PDGA one, I don't believe, because it's not a sanctioned event. Or is it a?
Yeah, it's still a sanctioning. Yeah, that money counts.
Is it? Okay, so maybe Ricky, if Gannon were to absolutely fall apart, Ricky could maybe catch him, but I'd have to look at how the formulas and stuff. But ultimately, it doesn't matter. Right now, Gannon's going to win it, and I don't think anybody has anything else that they can even imagine saying.
Yeah, it's phenomenal what he's putting together, and we'll continue to have, I think, a interesting conversation on the FPO side. I guess just for parity, Owen Scoggins is listed. If you scroll down on the link I just provided you guys, Owen Scoggins is listed with 553 points. Kristen is listed with 520 points, and Holland Hanley has 496, with Missy at 486. Evelina Salonen with 2 majors, right? A world championship and
Champions Cup.
What other Champions Cup? Wow. Wow, it's funny. I was seeing her hoist the trophy in my head, and I couldn't put it together. With 2 majors and 2 Disc Golf Pro Tour events, is currently listed in 5th within the PDGA Player of the Year category. So take that how you will. I know we could fast forward a couple months and everybody will be arguing, and they'll say, I don't understand how this works, and that's fine too. But I'm just throwing a few hints out there for you right now. All right. Any other major storylines that you feel like from the Green Mountain Championship? We talked a little bit about the bubble spots. Holland battled back. I think that's obviously worth noting because she had a very rough start on day 1. And Holland came into the event number 1 in the Disc Golf Pro Tour standings, and at one point fell all the way back to 5th. But because she charged back so much in that final round, she retained the number 1 spot in the Disc Golf Pro Tour standings. Obviously, that at the end of the day is going to be huge for her if she can do it. And right now, with the way the points work out, standings-wise, if I understand it correctly, from the Pro Tour perspective, it's going to take some of that help, like when you get to playoff season with this, this team and that team, and so-and-so's got to lose and such has to beat that person. I think there's some of that's going to have to take place for Holland to not be your Disc Golf Pro Tour points champion, which is incredible.
It's about 40 points between her and Owen. So if Owen wins and Holland takes, whatever that is down in because these don't drop. You take 2 of 2.
Correct.
So if Holland has an off week and is down in, we'll say 15th place, whatever that is, and Owen wins, yes, then that's about the only way. But again, same thing with the way Holland's playing. She's a top 5 player. You can almost for sure count on her to be top 10. I don't see it happening.
She's finished. She hasn't finished outside of the top 5 since April.
Yeah.
In any event. She's only been outside of the top 10. Well, she finished 10th at 2 events and 16th at an event.
Mm-hmm.
She's been pretty damn consistent all year long.
Yep.
So you're right. Of course, that's what I'm saying is you need a little help. This person needs to do this and so on and so forth. But right now, Holland very much in the driver's seat, which is incredible. As you think about that overall consistency of what she's done this year.
She didn't go to Europe.
Yeah.
So, I mean, she just flat out missed a few events and a major. And it feels like everybody missed some events. Obviously, Kristen took half the year. I won't say half the year. Took a good chunk in the middle of the season
3
off.
3 or 4 events off.
It's just Owen didn't go over to Europe either, and a lot of the Europeans didn't play in the middle of the season after Champions Cup. So back and forth a little bit, but yeah.
Crazy. All right, real quickly, I know a lot of people asked if I was going to be out there because those are my peeps, and I'm of that age range, as is Johnny. Real quick, congratulations to everyone that competed in the PDGA Tim Selinsky U.S. Masters Championship presented by Innova, and I wanted to bring up and read through a few of our champion on the MP40 side, Scott Conway, just barely besting Michael Joe and Kale LaVisca. FP40, there was a playoff that involved Sarah Holcomb and Jennifer Allen. Holcomb ultimately wins in the playoff. Remember a couple years ago, Jennifer Allen won in a playoff. This time it's going to be Sarah Holcomb that took it down. Johnny McRae got Barry Schultz on the first hole of a playoff, so congratulations to Johnny McRae. That was in MP50. MP55, Blaine Faulkner, and I'll read FP55. Elaine King picked up another major title. I saw the infographic, 18, 17, maybe 17 majors in total for Elaine King at this point. Eric Rainey destroys the MP60 field. Congrats to him. And Kathy Hardiman wins in a playoff as well. Lots of playoffs. Bobby Jones takes it down, MP65 and MP70. Randy Beers. I'm going to finish out all of the pros. Michelle Marini takes it down in FP70. MP80 goes to Pete May. And that is all of your pros. Congrats to all of them, and also congrats to all of the amateurs. There's another 10 or 12 of those in the AM divisions. But congrats. By and large, sounds like a really good time over there at the U.S. Masters. I wish it didn't conflict with this particular event, because then I would love to be part of it, but won't happen this year. Ed says, did you hear about the Johnny McRae foot fault call against Barry? I did not. I haven't been seeking drama on the internet, but no, I doubt it was filmed. So I'd be curious to hear more about it. Maybe that's a conversation for offline, because I know nothing about it. It was interesting here as we closed out our show that Holland Hanley was called for a foot fault, and it was also interesting to see how consequential it would be. Consequential. It would be. When you looked at the scores, yeah, I mean, she ultimately pulled one ahead of Missy Gannon because Missy needed to birdie the final hole to catch her. So Holland finished in solo fourth, but was penalized on the last hole of the tournament for a foot fault.
I know we saw it on camera, and it didn't look egregious to me, but the camera definitely hides and changes angles, and we weren't there. So I would never judge anybody for calling somebody else on a foot fault, especially when they're on site there. But it didn't, to me, from the camera, it didn't look like she missed by much if she did. It just off to the right a little bit.
Yeah, and that's.
So. But it's hard to know where the basket
with the
is.
Initial
versus,
reaction. Yeah, I agree with that initial reaction because I kind of thought the same.
Yeah.
And instantly I thought, I don't know, this
No,
camera, this angle could be giving us a very bad perspective ultimately. I immediately thought back to, even just the in or out call for Emily Weatherman back at the Dynamic Disc Open, and how so many people thought it was obvious from a camera that ended up being 30 feet away that was trying to do their best to zoom, and it was definitely not nearly as obvious when you were looking at it. So, yes, but yeah, nonetheless, to think they played 72 holes, and they're on the 72nd hole of competition, not vying for the win at all, and that call was still made, which I am not second guessing at all, because you and I both know the conversation the next day could always be, oh man, there were so many foot faults out there. Why is nobody calling these things? So here it is, getting called. So,
and a few notes about a couple of things. One, Isaac Robinson has withdrawn from the MVP Open.
What?
Yep, due to a finger issue. His finger, yes.
His fingy?
His little thingy. And he's going to save himself for USDGC, hoping it heals up, which isn't really going to have a huge deal with the player status, with the standings, because he's 50 points outside of Nicholas. So Nicholas would have to have a pretty bad weekend, and he would have to have a good weekend. And the guys below him, if he falls down, I believe it's like if you take 5th through 8th, it's the same amount of strokes. So it doesn't really matter that he's not. At worst, he might lose a stroke in the tour championship. So in general, Isaac, we wish you the best. Hopefully, let your little fingy heal, and talk to Nate Doss about wrapping it. Nate is like an expert at that. So if you see him at USDGC, chat with him about that, and take him out of your skip ace lineups if he's in there. So yeah, I know, Terry. So that's MVP news. There's a little bit of PDGA news. There's an article about the results of the public comment on the proposed rule changes. So as we know, there's proposed rule changes for 2025. The public has a right to chime in. There were a few little, basically some verbiage changes and additions that didn't change a lot. It just kind of more clarifications. You can read those out on the PDGA site, as well as the PDGA seeking hosts for 2026 and 2027 majors. So if you're a TD in an area that maybe has some pretty good courses, and you have a crew, reach out to the PDGA. They can help you. They can kind of work with you. Try to put a bid together if you're interested in a 2026 or 2027 major bid.
All right. Real quick, without getting into the weeds either, real quick follow-up to our conversation from last weekend, in the sense that Tyler and his brother Adam, along with Matt Lloyd, things continue to roll on for the Masters at Bud Hill. Tyler put out an update today on his Facebook page, kind of saying just that. The admin availability has switched over to Matt Lloyd and over to Tyler. So now they're able to process refunds for people that want refunds. I know they've been issuing some of those, also processing people from the wait list, and processing sponsorship pledges and obligations such as ours and others. So best of luck to them. I think they've already generated somewhere in the neighborhood of like $5,000 in additional sponsorship. So all things considered, the event looks like it's going to be growing and being improved upon, and hopefully will be a very fun and successful time for everyone that chooses to still be involved in whatever capacity. So, but Tyler and the crew are well on their way to doing all of that. So, yet again, we'll repeat thank you to those guys for stepping up in the way that they did. You mentioned it, Johnny. We may have some, maybe on a similar but different note, we'll have probably some PDGA reps step in the next couple of weeks, give us some updates of some things going on. Like you just said, the public comment. I know that's very much a conversation that takes place when these rules are proposed, and then people are able to go ahead and give their feedback, things of that nature, or whatever else the PDGA has going on for initiatives, we'll say, for 2025. I'm excited to hear about it. I think those are. I didn't actually write any notes, but I feel like that's everything. I've got a flex start tomorrow. here in Bend, Oregon. So I know we're pushing already about 40 people, which surpasses the number we had last year. Not quite as many as we had 2 years ago, but registrations, another one just came in a moment ago. So if anyone's interested in playing and somehow you're listening to this live, there's availability out on Disc Golf Scene for people to sign up for the Flex Start. Somebody literally just signed up again just seconds ago, so even cooler. Yes, awesome to see, and looking forward to seeing everybody out there. Pine Nursery, and get this, we just might have a featured card. Somebody's prepping for USDGC, and he's won it before.
Oh, I was hoping you were going to say
I'm talking
Val.
about Nate Doss.
Hmm.
She's won US Women's.
No, but I want her to play USDGC. Not even throw pink. I want her to play USDGC.
That would be
although I would love to see her play throw pink again.
Nate Perkins and Nate Doss, I think, are going to be on the card, along with a couple others. There's a young up-and-coming superstar in the area that said he was ready to be on camera, I think, along with another gentleman. So the plan is to record that tomorrow. It's the last group that goes out, so I'm hoping to record that and get that out so people can see what we can expect maybe out of Nate and Nate in terms of where their play is at. Now, to be fair, they're also taking one for the team. As they're going out the latest, they'll probably deal with the windiest conditions, so they might not be they're going to be at a disadvantage to the people that are teeing off at 9 a.m., but sometimes when you're a pro, you got to do what you got to do.
And
I'm going to
Terry,
link that in the chat as well.
I don't have a ton for an after show, so if you just want to forego an after show tonight, unless you have something you want to talk about, I know you have to get up a little bit earlier and probably get that stuff prepped. I've got
I don't really.
I've got an appointment in the morning. I've got to go to some silly vendor thing that nobody wants to go to, but sure.
Are we going to circle back? You're going to get it past the finish line to
maybe
make sure that we can
corporate synergy.
Yeah, some of that. Okay. No, I don't have a heck of a lot either. It was a great weekend of the broadcasting this last weekend, and looking forward to more of it coming up for MVP. Again, a course that all of us know intimately, which I think is really cool. The fact that Val, and I know this is nothing new, but Val has, of course, won on that property. Nate has won on that property. Nate Sexton's going to be in the booth again. We're going to have Brian out there. I mean, all of the stars align, so it should be really exciting. 4 rounds, 1 course, a couple different pin positions. Dodge didn't get into that, but I know we're going to see a couple of different pin positions on a couple of the different days, so we'll try and keep you up to speed there. But the playoffs keep rolling. More added cash, more boring golf from Gannon is coming, but it should be seriously a lot of fun, and looking forward to it. All right, unless the board has anything, Aaron says I smell an after show simmering. Yeah, we don't.
Not really. There's not a lot going on.
Like you said.
Yeah, there's
not a lot.
If I had something,
we don't need to force one.
Yeah, if I had something to chat about, I definitely would. No, like I said, I'm going to a really exciting vendor party tomorrow for copiers. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, I know.
I'm so mad I'm going to miss that.
I know, where they're going to try to sell
your
us
wingman.
Sharp copiers and tell us all about the Sharp ecosystem.
Is Xerox not the industry leader anymore?
I don't
Canon
know.
Or Xerox or HP?
We're a Sharp company, so we primarily deal with Sharp copiers, but our vendor really wants us to show up to their big 50th anniversary party where it's just a bunch of people trying to sell us more stuff. So whatever.
Super excited to not hear about that.
Yeah, I'm super excited to go to it for like an hour and a half, maybe. I don't know. Whatever. It's probably gonna get some free food, and there's some like gift certificates you can win. So hopefully I'll pull something like that out or something dumb.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, best of luck with that. All right. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in tonight. We're not quite setting a record, but pretty close to it. What is that? 2 hours?
2 hours. Yeah.
The math?
We've done
2
shorter
hours.
ones.
Yeah. Well, that seems like we had enough, and Steve Dodge is all the entertainment you could ask for anyway. So with that, thank you guys for joining us. We won't have an after show. Next week, we'll do a double drawing, and tons of people should have received stuff over the last week. I sent out a whole bunch more stuff actually just before I left. So hopefully you guys received some more stuff, whether it was the annual thing or if it was a recent giveaway or whatever, us getting caught up. But next week we'll do a double drawing, so remind me of that. Appreciate Steve Dodge joining us on the show. Congrats to our winners this weekend yet again in Kristen Tatar along with Gannon Burr. Thank you guys for the show. For Johnny V, I'm the Disc Golf Guy. We'll see you next week when you step inside the Smashbox.
Thank you to our $2 and above patrons. Your name is listed below in the credits. If you are interested in being listed as a producer in the SmashBoxxTV credits and supporting this and other fine podcasts, please visit patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV.